Hello students, we are looking at pie charts. Pie chart. A pie chart is a circular graph which is divided into sectors such that the angle at the center is proportional to the frequency represented by different parts. The total frequency makes up the whole pie circle of 360 degrees. Now, a pie chart is a pictorial representation of information in form of a circle. Each angle, each sector represents the information. Now let us look at this. Let's consider this question. We want to construct a pie chart for this particular question. Draw the pie chart for the information below. You are given that the game, we have 4 different types of game. For football, we having 140 students playing football. For hockey, 80 students are playing hockey. Basketball, 50 students are playing basketball. Table tennis, 70 students are playing table tennis. Now, we are told to draw a pie chart for the information. First of all, we need to know the sectorial angles of each of these. So for us to know it, first of all, we are going to add all the students together. So that means 140 plus 80 plus 50 plus 70 will give us 340. Now, we need to know the sectorial angle for each of these games. So the sectorial angle for football, what will be the sectorial angle? We have 140 students playing football divided by total number of students, which is what? 340 times 360. When you calculate this, you are going to get 148.24, which is approximately 148 degrees. If you are dealing with, if you want to do pie chart, you always do it to the nearest degree, because you cannot get the accuracy is to the nearest whole number. Now for hockey, how many students are playing hockey? 80. So total number of divided by total number of students is 340 times 360. 360 is the sum of angles in a circle. So that means it give us 84.71. To the nearest whole number, we are going to get 85.5 degrees. Now, for basketball, how many students are playing basketball? We are having 50 students over the total number of students, which is what? 340 times 360. So if you calculate this, it will give us 52.94 degrees. So which is approximately 53 degrees. Also for table tennis, how many students are playing table tennis? That is 70 divided by total number of students, 340 times 360. So which should give us 74.12 degrees, which is approximately 74 degrees. Now we want to represent this on a pie chart. To represent this on a pie chart, now first of all, you are going to draw your circle. If this is your circle, you use your compass, you draw your circle. When you draw your circle, draw a line from the center of the circle to the circumference. So if this happens to be the 9, you are now going to use what? Your protractor to be measuring the angles now. So use your protractor. Now for the protractor, the first part, which is what? For football, we are having 148 playing football. So we said that, well, for those that are playing football, we did the sectorial angle to be 148. You want to measure 148. This is your compass. The center of your compass, let it fall at the center of the circle here. The center of the compass, you look at this is the center of the compass. You will see that this line on the compass, let it fall on the line you have drawn here, and the center of the of your protractor will fall at the center here. So when it falls here, make sure this line falls at this on the line you have drawn here. So you want to measure 148. So you know this one is what? 0. So from here you are measuring 0. So you now follow the values here till you get 148. So this 80, 90, 100, 120, 130, 140. Then 148 will be, if you read this 140, the next this 145, in between one. So then you see the small now, 146, 47, 48. So you are going to mark it. When you mark it, you now join this place you have marked with the center of the circle. So now you realize that you join the place you mark, you join with the center of the circle. So you now rule it, you form a straight line to the circumference. So this sector will give us that of the football. Then secondly, we told that we calculated the sectorial angle of hockey to be 85. Sectorial angle of hockey to be 85. So to do this one, now you place your compass, your protractor again. Let the center of your protractor here fall at the center of the circle you have drawn, and the line on the protractor here, this line will fall on the line you have drawn here. So let it fall on the line you have drawn. So you want to measure 85. Then you now look at this. So this is 0 from this side. This is 0. Then you trace it till you get 8. So this is 80. In between 80, this 85. So you are going to mark this side. When you mark it, you now join it to this point you have marked. Use a ruler, you join to the center of the circle. So you join to the center of the circle. So you realize that gives us what represent, that is for hockey. Then you come to basketball. For basketball, the sectorial angle for basketball is what? 53. So again, you are going to pick your protractor. You pick your protractor. Make sure the center of your protractor fall at the center of the circle here, and this line you have drawn fall on this line. So the center of protractor fall on the circle, then this line on the last line you have drawn here. So you now measure 53. So you measure 53. So you must target it. Let it fall, then measure 53. You know, this is 50, 51, 52, 53. So you are going to mark it. So the center of the circle, you let it join to the circumference. Like this. So this will represent basketball. Then the last part, you will realize that if all the sectors you have been doing is right, the angle is right, the last part should be what? For table tennis. And table tennis is the sectorial angle for table tennis is 74. If what you have been drawing is right, you realize that the last angle here will give us 74, which is for table tennis. You must always make sure you write whatever each of the sectors are representing there. Else, that means you didn't do anything. You must write it there to make sure you really complete the pie chart. So this is the pie chart. So we have 148 degrees for football, hockey is 85 degree, then basketball is 53 degree, and table tennis is 74 degree. So this pie chart is representing the number of students that took part in each game. Then let's look at another question. The table below shows the population of animals on a farm. we have the different type of animal. We having, for goat we have 18 goats, 12 cow, then we have 36 chicken and 24 duck. So we want to represent this on a pie chart. So first of all, we must know the total population. So when to know the population, you add 18 plus 12 plus 36 plus 24. This will give us 90. Then from after this, you now be looking for the sectorial angle. For goats, we having 18 goats there over the total number of animals, which is 90 times 370, which will give you 72 degrees. For cow, we having 12 cows divided by the total number of cows, which is 90 times 360, which is 48 degrees. For chicken, we having 36 chicken divided by 90 total number of animals times 360, which is what? 144 degrees. Then the last one, which is duck. For duck, we having 24 duck over 90 times 360, which is what? 96 degrees. So now you are going to draw your pie chart. So to draw your pie chart, first of all, you draw the angle. You draw the circle. When you draw the circle, as we have done earlier, so as I've said, you first draw your circle. When you draw your circle, then from the center of the circle, then you draw a line from the center of the circle to the circumference. Then you now pick your protractor to measure the angles. So the first angle, the first one we want to measure is for goats. We having 72 degrees to represent goats. So you come to this circle, pick your protractor, let the center of the protractor fall at the center of the circle here. Then you make this line on the protractor fall on the line you have drawn. The line on the protractor fall on the line you have drawn. So we want to measure 72. So now this is starting from 0. So we having 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 70, then 71, 72. So you mark it, then you remove the protractor and make sure you join the center of the circle with the circumference. So you realize how this side represents goat. So this is for goat. So this is 72 degrees. Then the next one is for what? Is cow. We having cow is for 48 degrees. So again, you are going to use your protractor. At this time, you start where this line, the last line you have drawn here, stopped. Let the center of the protractor fall at the center of the circle here. The line on this protractor, let it fall on the last line you have drawn, and you measure 48 degrees. So if this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 48. So I want to measure 48. This is 45, 46, 47, 48. So you mark it. Then you are now going to join it with the center. This place you mark, join it with the center of the circle. So realize how this one will represent your cow. The next one, we having the sectorial angle for the next one is what? For chicken, we having 144 degrees. So that means you are going to measure 144 now. Make sure the center of your protractor fall at the center of the circle. Then this line fall on the last line. The line on the protractor fall on the last line of your circle that you have drawn here. Then you now measure 144. So if this starting from 0 here, so you are having 0 here like this, 90, 100, this 140, 41, 42, 43, 44 is here. You are going to mark it. When you mark it, then you now join it to the circumference. So this sector now represent chicken. So this is for chicken. You must always write whatsoever thing the sector is representing. Else, if you don't write anything, it means you have not done any work. You must write whatever thing it is representing. Then the last one is duck. Now, if all the angles you have been drawing had been accurate, realize that if you place your protractor to measure the last angle, is going to give you the 96. So then the last one should be what? This for duck, 96 degree. Always try to measure it to be sure. So this pie chart will now be representing the population of animals on the farm. Make sure you always write the title. So for the work practice, draw a pie chart to represent the sales made by a trader in a month. For maize, the trader sold 90 bags. For rice, 60 bags. Beans, 40 bags. Millet, 20 bags. Soya beans, 10 bags. Then 2. The table below shows the weight in kilogram of 4 students. For Ibrahim weighed 80 kilogram, Chima weighed 15 kilogram, Udo weighed 45 kilogram, and Remilekun weighs 40 kilogram. Draw a pie chart to represent the information contained in the table. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you.